Oh, we're back. There we go. Now we're rolling. Well, here we go, guys. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we're just waiting on Suzanne, but you know what? She can join when she wants to join. So
exactly. So I'm excited to do this one. We've never done a live Q&A, right? We've answered a lot of questions at the end of our webinars, but never like this.
no, yeah.
I can take the first question. So
yes.
so David asked, how about using Singular in China? And the parts of the core of Singular are using a Google service which is not available in China. But we developed an infrastructure piece of Singular, which is our own architecture and distributes data in our environment without using any Google services. So when you create an account, tell us the account name, and then we can switch it to using Singular Data Store, which is using a direct, super fast data connection and data distribution based on direct WebSockets. With that, we really would like your feedback, and we expect it running in China. So please send us an email to support Singular.live or directly to Thomas at Singular.live with your account ID, and we'll switch it to using Data Store.
And Data Store has been rock solid. I'll just go and say we've been using it for a while. So yeah,
Yes.
Absolutely give us your feedback. We just need the account information, like Thomas said. And I guess the same, do you have Singular in the Middle East? I guess.
Yes, that's a big yes. It's used in the Middle East, supporting Arabic fonts, Asian fonts, well, all you want to try. And of course, it's available on any spot on the planet.
Yep.
There's
Actually,
Suzanne.
there she is.
Sorry,
Hi,
a nightmare Zoom.
Well, as I said when we started this off, we're excited to get questions, and they're coming in here. Like, can data from Daktronics scoreboards controllers be used in Singular? I don't know if I've done a Daktronics data feed project. Suzanne or Thomas, do you remember doing one? I wouldn't. I'd say probably. I don't see why not. I don't know where the.
It's a Thomas question, I think, right?
Yeah, that Daktronics, as far as I remember, is also used by Sportscast, and there we support Sportscast feeds directly within composition scripts. And well, if you can send us an API of the Daktronics controllers, then we can give you detailed information so we can look into that. From the data APIs in Singular, we are pretty open for any push mechanism for data. Is it REST API, push data into Singular data nodes or Singular data streams, depending on the frequency of the data updates. Or we also can pull data or establish direct socket connection to any data source. So we would need a bit more detail, or if you have an API documentation, please send it to us and we're happy to look into it.
I'm a big fan of Daktronics. I visited their Brookings, South Carolina facility many years ago, and they are an impressive company, I will say. So big shout out to those guys. Yeah, it would be cool to do a project with their data. Here's another one. Is there a possibility of a one-to-one demo on Zoom? If yes, who should I contact? I would say support at Singular.live, and we can set something up, I guess.
Yeah, I just responded. If you want to
oh, there you go.
Submit a ticket to us and with some details about what you're looking for, we can see what we can organize. We don't normally do that because we are a very small team. But yeah.
And also please send us some time slots that fit into your local time zone. Next question. What are your possibilities of live video input? That's easy to answer. None. Singular is working in the browser, and there is, well, no option to input live video in broadcast terms like SDI or HSDI. But of course, there is a lot of possibilities to use video streams. Depending on the use case, we may recommend using videos or we don't. Usually, as the graphics overlay provider, we try to keep away from the video because of just how it's being managed. With when playing video in the browser, you all know that there might be some delays. The browser is buffering it for optimizing the playout, and therefore it's challenging to manage. And it really depends on your use case. Having WebRTC as an input feed, that usually works really nice. We also done several projects using AWS, the IVS video service, which is low latency. And yeah, having implemented that in various projects where you see then the live video feed from various people within the overlay.
I see your cone dog in the background there, Suzanne. Surgery dog. On the web, or sorry, on the video question really quick, we do have some aesthetic sort of solutions in terms of if you're using video for like a background loop animation or some sort of in and out animation. We do have video animation widgets and what is the JSON widget? I'm sorry, I'm forgetting. For the Lottie animation, is the background?
Oh, the body movement.
Sorry, the body movement. So there are solutions for aesthetic purposes if you're needing a video file for that.
Yeah. The next question is asking if there is an on-premise installation possible for Singular. No, Singular is a native cloud service, and it's fully scalable. So if you want to have one output now and 10 outputs or 100 outputs in the next hour, you can do that. So that's fully scalable, and it's a transparent native web service.
Next one is transition logic.
This is a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
Stephen, I think that's one for you.
Should we share the screen?
Yeah, let's do it. And I'm gonna send
screen.
an article on this too. So we'll get a real live demo of logic layers. And then if you want to check out that article, there's a video in there. It's kind of an older video, but some steps on how to work with it.
I am going to just do this little quick graphic here that we have. There's just one subcomposition overlay called subscribe. And I have the composition navigator right here. Don't forget, you got the Control F, Command F on the Mac to
Stephen,
shortcut to bring it up.
Just a little bit.
Better?
Maybe like
more?
125. Yeah.
Better?
Yeah, good enough.
Okay, so I am going to disable the logic layers. So we call them logic layers, and we have one called subscribe. I'm just going to hit enter on the keyboard, right arrow, and call this one. Control D for duplicate, enter on the keyboard, right arrow, back, and call this one 2. And just to make them different, just for the purposes of this demo, I won't go too deep. I'm just going to scale this one up a little bit and move it over, just so you can see that they're, I guess this is linked. I'll just move it over, just so you can see there's 2. Okay, back to the navigator. Turn off the bounding box. We get rid of the outline. Logic layers. You can call these whatever you want. So I'm going to call this one, I'm just going to call it lower. And I'm going to assign both of them to lower. And what that's going to do is it's going to keep track of the state of the graphic. So if I bring in the second one, the bigger one, the second one will, or the first one will automatically animate out. So we're just simply keeping this track of the state of the graphic, whether it's in the in state or the out state. There's a little more than meets the eye here. You can see how the graphics are sort of colliding. One isn't done before the other one. It looks like we've got a little that time needs to be slightly adjusted so it animates out. Right here to the left, it says transition delay to the left of the logic layer. So your go-to is auto. And what I mean by go-to is if you set this to auto on both, then it's going to force, it's not going to take in the second graphic, the second subcomposition until the first one is completely out. So it's going to finish the animation and then start the next one. You can also set custom times if you want to have a longer delay between the time it takes for the next subcomposition to come in. But I'd say 90% of the time you're setting this to auto. So it's not a multi-state logic for logic layer. It's just simple one state, whether the graphic is in or out. And then you have this additional transition delay option. So very handy. I use it all the time. I'll go ahead and delete that. And back to
the next question also is interesting, and you directly can use this example to show it. It's referring to update animations.
Can you change just the text, not the full animation? As in an update animation. I think that's what they're talking about here. Okay, so let's zero in on this top line of text where it says like and subscribe. So it looks like in this graphic that we've built, we have it connected to a control node called title. So if I go to text, you can see this is green, so it's connected to title. So if I start typing in here, I'm going to just cut this out. You see how it animated out. It's going to animate up from the bottom. It's doing that animation because we have an update animation selected. So if I disable this, and then I'm going to cut this, I'm going to type in my name. It's just going to type on like a typewriter, one character after the other. If I enable the update animations, this is where you set how you want the animation, the updates of the new data to behave. So when the animation goes out, it's going down over this duration with this velocity. So one of my go-to ones that I use quite a bit is, I call it the up down. So it's translate up on the out as the data is going out. And when the new one comes in, it's down. 0.5, 1, and my favorite velocity of all time for Singular is the power of 3. And so what is that going to look like? I'll go ahead and cut this. And no, is that right? There we go. Paste. So what this does is it animates out just a touch quicker before the new data comes in. And don't forget, while I'm here, this is super handy. That was quite a few clicks I had to do. I think I counted it one day. I think it's like 11 or 13, maybe it is clicks to set all this up, to set all these things. But once you have that, again, you can copy this. You're copying the entire widget. So if I were to paste it, right, you're going to get a complete copy. But for example, if this didn't have the update, I can also just paste just the update animations here, or just I always go back to this one, just the text, just the style, anywhere you see the paste key. That's why that's there. It allows you to, you're not just copying a widget, you're copying all of the individual properties of that widget, and you can paste them around as needed. It's super handy, super time saver. Let me come
the
back
other thing,
to,
if you go back over to the update animation, is the offset. This is something
yes.
I always talk about, but like you can increase the level of when that updates. So if you set that to 0, it would happen pretty instantaneously.
Mm-hmm. Am I missing something here?
Actually, it might have disconnected.
Title. Oh, no, sorry. That's me. That was my mistake. Subtitle. And this, that's why it didn't work, because I was in the wrong field. This got disconnected when I was doing the copying and pasting. So the connection to the control node is disconnected. So go to title, and now there's nothing in the field, and I type in my name, Stephen. And like Suzanne was saying, so you can play around with the offset. So if I set this to 0, it's going to be, like Suzanne was saying, it's going to be much more instantaneous. You can also use this if you had a bunch of pieces of text in a row. You can slightly change the offset from one to the next, and then you'll get a cascading effect. So if you have a stack of text, you could set the first one to say maybe, I don't know, 0.05, and then, or sorry, 0.5, 0.6, you know, a slight offset between the updates so that they cascade. if that makes sense. Let me type in hello. And now back to, what about responsive design? If I want the length of the lower third to read just according to the length of the text. Ah, Suzanne.
So in
Who
terms
is-
of that, we're like, I hope you mean telescoping. So in Singular, we actually use, we wrap everything in HTML to get the telescoping to work. It's one of the most effective ways of doing it. You could write a very complicated script that would, you know, calculate the length of the text and then add that to a rectangle, but that's really quite complicated. And the best way of doing it is just going over to the resource, the resources over here where Stephen's pointing, and just download the one he's hovering now. And it's honestly, it's the best way of doing it. It's very easy to duplicate it and change it out and change the backgrounds. And once you're more au fait with that, you can then start exploring the crazy world of telescoping texts with other bits and pieces.
Suzanne does quite a bit of that, and I have to do quite a bit of it with Suzanne's help because she's quite the wizard on the HTML wrapping. This is a good example of where you can show you how to do it. If you go to templates and you go to resources, let's just cut out of that. We'll go to resources, this one, custom font style script. Just go ahead and use this template, drop it down, and you'll have the composition. And if you go directly to the script editor, you can see what is happening in script. Again, you can open up the composition. You'll want both open to really wrap your head around what's going on in here. Let's see here. Is this one? Actually, you know what? This is not the best of examples.
No, this is a very good example.
Is it?
This just doesn't have a background color in there at the moment.
Yes.
Add it in. This is literally, we're just combining a lightweight font and a bold font together.
Yep.
But to add in anything that what you do is where you said that output text on line 27, you would just add a semicolon and then just type in background dash color and then write a hexadecimal RGB, any kind of background that you'd want, and it would then start adding it in. You've already got like 40 pixels in between, everything's there, so adding it in. And this one's got quite a lot of detailed notes to try and help someone understand, especially if they're not used to using anything like this.
You know, Catherine, put this on our little hit list. That is one that we might drop into some more examples of that into the resource library. Just basic ones with color, just color in the background with text with telescoping, because we get that one quite often. So,
you know, I think there is one in there actually. If you go back, because there's a lot of
you've got the outline one
resources. If you go,
I don't think there's one that does color.
There is just pasting a link to the developer portal, which is covering exactly that use case.
Okay.
And there is also a link to a shared control app, which I'm also sharing now, where you can test this. Now, of course, when everybody's entering content there, the last one who enters text will win. In this case, but that's URLs where you can test it.
Yeah, this, Thomas, you're exactly right. This is a great one. Maybe we just drop this composition into the resources as well, but this is exactly what you need. I saw another one. What was the question here? How even Google Sheets.
How easy is it to connect the data feed, JSON, RSS, XML, or even Google Sheets?
Before we do that one, there was one before that was
more.
about.
Okay.
Is there any weather bugs in Singular where we can show several locations after each other?
We don't have any of those templates built out in the template library, but you know, you can build anything virtually in Singular. So I don't know, Stephen, you want to take that one since you did the most
weather
work
bug,
on these templates.
Yeah, let's go to. Do we have some in here? Here's one. So these are all weather bugs. This is probably what we're referring to. Let's just go to this one, for example. And when we use this template, we are going to get an app, not a composition. So if I open one, my guess is there you're referring to this, and now we're going to be jumping into an Uno control app as opposed to Singular Studio. And the answer to your question right now, currently, it is just one location. So if I change this location to Denver, for example, we're going to get one location. I did, it is on our hit list to have a multiple locations in the weather bug. Currently, it is just one, but it is on our hit list. And then back to the other one, that responsive, if you want. Okay, we covered that one. There was another one that Thomas just mentioned. Where is it? Can you change
the data feed, JSON, RSS, XML, Google Sheets. So we have a couple of different, we have a Google Sheet widget, which is good if you use it sparingly. Sometimes we'll see compositions where someone's got 30 plus Google Sheets widgets, which it's understandable to want to try and do that, but it can get pretty heavy pretty quickly. So it just depends on how much you want to use it. Suzanne?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a massive fan of data nodes. If you're going to use a massive amount of data, like a Google Sheet, and it needs to go to different areas, it's probably more of a Thomas can
kick it around.
Yeah, just pass it around.
Just checking. Okay, yeah. Let me.
I would say just
Google
generically
Sheets.
speak. Yeah, the Google. I mean, we can dive into Google Sheets, which is worthy of its own sort of. I don't know what to call it, another webinar, another deep dive into the Google Sheet integration, because we have two really methods to connect data from a Google Sheet. We have a actual Google Sheet add-on that was okayed by Google a while back, and it's pretty powerful. Then we have a Google Sheet widget, which many users have used, and sometimes maybe too many Google widgets in one composition. Which can, an issue. So I wonder if we should dedicate something for that one, put that on our hit list, Catherine, of the deep dive Google Sheet explanation, because it gets asked quite a bit, and we do have some nice tools. But the question, when I see how easy is it to connect, it's depends on the data. It depends on what you're trying to connect. How much data? How big is the sheet? How big is the, how fast do you want the data to come in?
It also depends on your graphics, like the animation stuff. It's just, there's so many factors. That's why I said, if you just submit a ticket to us with details about your project, and we can help, because it really is a project by project sort of solution.
I can show an example which I also use usually for testing. Let me share my screen for this. So nice. Do you see my screen?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So this is a Google Sheet which I use for testing. It has a lot of sheets, but that's that one that we're going to refer to. So when using the Google Sheet, of course, you have to share it. The Google Sheet widget is accessing it through a public URL. You can add the Google Sheet widget from the widget browser. Just click here and edit, which I already did here. So the Google Sheet requires some information to connect to the sheet. One is the sheet ID, which is actually this ID here. Then you need to define a value range. In this case, it's the sheet name. It's the Bundesliga Clean, and starting from A1 down to J19 or to I19, depending if you want to take the logo too. Then you need an API key. We described that, how to create the API key for your Google account. And that's all you need to do. Once you've done that, you just click on the edit, and you already see the Google Sheet data down there. And the Google Sheet widgets provides the data in two types. One is the table JSON, which is the JSON structure that you directly can feed into the table widget, as I did here. And then the table widget takes this content and fills every single line with that. So you can define then the number of lines you actually want to show, and it will stay here with 10. You can define animations and updating. I don't go too much into detail there. But then you just link basically the table content to this JSON. The other option, what the Google Sheet widget provides is it provides the data of a single column in control nodes. So when you step through the rows of the Google Sheet, you can fill in those data, for example, into simple lower thirds. So what other options do you have here? You can enable automatic updates. So then the Google Sheet widget requests every 5 seconds or every 2 minutes, depending on what you set here, new data from the Google Sheet and updates it. And let's do that. So when I just now take the Google Sheet and move it a little bit further down here and just change the values. Let's say, change the first ones. So when I update it from 11, 22, 33, 44, 55, 66, and so on, it takes 5 seconds, and then the Google Sheet automatically just reads this updated data and pushes the data into the composition. So that's one option to connect Google Sheet data to Singular compositions. There are various other ones which we covered in the data webinar, where we can share the link to that, which explains how to push then from the Google Sheet data into control nodes and into Singular compositions. We're happy to share this information and the links to the webinar, but it would be a bit too deep diving into this topic here in this webinar now.
And just so you guys are aware, I posted a link to the Google Sheet widget tutorial. It's fairly long. It covers all these different sort of scenarios of if you want to cycle through lines of data for like a lower third, or if you want to display a full table of data. So it's pretty lengthy, but it's very helpful. And it also explains how to set up an API key for your Google account so that you can actually access that data from Singular.
I will add one more thing on. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I see all the links in here right here.
No, go for it. Tons of links.
So I will just put one caveat on that Google widget. It's great. It works. We get a lot of requests. People will bring the Google Sheet widget into a composition many times. What's many? I don't know. I say let's limit it, because right? we've seen some people really run with it, and I like that. But you have to understand what's happening. A lot of the heavy lifting is happening from Google. So we're at their mercy to a certain degree with how much data. So you want to kind of start out small. And if you're going to have multiple Google Sheet widgets in a composition, you really have to, at some point, it's going to break under its own weight. And there's other mechanisms for getting data into Singular. So I just leave it at that. There's no clear defined number, quantifiable, of how many Google Sheet widgets. I think we've seen some pretty large ones with some ambitious. So I'll just leave it at that. Like, you have to be mindful of the fact that if you're bringing the Google Sheet widget into a composition many times, you're going to run into data limits from Google and
Yeah.
some challenges. I see one from Crystal, who I know from the digital news desk. And she's asking about 1/10 increments of precipitation. I will have to check with R&D. I think so.
Yeah.
On the weather, Crystal's referring to the weather bug, which I know she uses. I think we have 2 instances in her composition. We use Open Weather, if I'm not mistaken, for the data source for that. I would just have to look at their API and see what kind of granularity they have on precipitation, but I will look into that and get back to you on that one for sure. It's a good question. That's a very powerful API. There's a lot more than just the weather bug that we do.
And to
there is another question from David about, well, how many users subscribe to Singular and about the growth rate. I'm not sure if we disclosed this data, but what I just look at is that our users created or produced 1 million of hours of content last 30 days. And they created 56,000, well, actually it's 57,000 app instances within the last 30 days. So just to give you a couple of numbers. And what can I also see here? Yeah, the app calls, it's 22 million API calls over the last couple of days. So that's really a lot of traffic, and our users depend on the Singular service, and they heavily use it. And it's absolutely scalable, and the growth rate we see makes us pretty happy.
Couple more questions.
What are the possibilities of maps with shaded areas and editable location names?
We have some map widgets, don't we? Or one Google Maps widget?
Yes, we added a Google Maps widget, and it's on let's say on a very basic way. It's a widget that took us a couple of hours to develop. We wanted to test it, how this works with the options that Google provides. And this actually does a pretty good job, but it's not a mapping system as you might know from the from on-premise systems that you currently use. We haven't really had the request of such capabilities and of showing maps. You can do that. You can create maps with either here maps or OpenStreetMaps, which we looked into, and they have a very nice and powerful APIs. We tested it, but those widgets are not published, and we must say it's not available in the terms for traditional broadcast use cases at the moment. But when you prepare those widgets or such images with your existing mapping system, you just can copy paste the URLs or import those images then into the Singular dashboard.
Let's see. Change of value according to data. For example, economy guide. If text is a positive number, show green arrow next to it, else red arrow.
Oh, we do that, right? I've seen that.
Composition scripting. Yes.
Yeah, with it would just be a simple if-else statement that compares the number, and then if it's a positive number, display certain, like whatever the URL is, or if it's a triangle, like whatever, change the color. And then if it's not that, then it would be a red arrow.
Thomas has built some cryptographics that do that. If you know,
right,
the value's gone up above.
We developed some graphics using Crypto.live data, and they update. Actually, we can share that.
Yeah, there's a couple of templates in the template library, tickers and some table, maybe a table widget would be, well, it's up to you what you want to take a look at. But if you download one of those and you extract the composition, you can dig into the composition script and see some of the scripting that goes on to, deliver a up or down arrow depending on the data. Those are a little bit more complex though, those crypto ones. That might be a good script for us to write. Do you guys think we could write that?
I have one that's based on a weather app. So based on weather temperature, which I'm sure I can strip that out and use that for a template.
Okay. Yeah, we'll try to get something in the template library, something simple, a simple script for that.
Yeah, I'll just copy and share some of the graphics there. Those are showing stock data and in a more text format. And what we also, of course, can show is we can draw graphs within Singular, and depending on the data source, and they, of course, also can show different colors, and you can style them. In fact, we have some widgets available that take data from Google Sheets and then directly draw line graphs, area charts, or bar charts and pie charts.
This is another good question. I'm sure there must be a playout component for Singular. Yes, we have Singular Studio, and then some Uno apps, which is kind of a stripped down version of Studio in a way. And is there a scheduling option so that we can play scheduled graphics based on time? There are timer related settings inside of Studio where you can say play out for X amount of time, but in terms of actually initializing a play out at a specific time, Thomas and Stephen, I know you guys have probably worked on projects like that. That again would involve composition scripting, right?
Schedule graphics, it's you always have to define more what that means. Does it mean scheduling the graphics playout for a show that's produced next week or tomorrow? Or is it scheduling a graphics that should show up when the soccer clock reaches 10, 20, 30 minutes or things like that? Both, of course, is possible. But scheduling in long term with an automate, that's usually done within a scheduling in an automation system, and then the automation system sends a trigger to Singular and tells us what graphics, what lower third to play. So that's the usual way. We provide the APIs and the SDKs to receive trigger and to play out graphics. If we don't provide a scheduling system in terms of a broadcast scheduling system or playout system, like Avid, for example, does, or also Visati does. So we don't have that, but we can receive triggers from all that systems, and that's a usual integration process that our customers have implemented.
So as an extension of that question, what if I play a playlist of an hour to play on loop, automatically updating graphics? Yeah, you can do that. There's, like I said, there's timer and there's playlist settings as well in Studio. So I would just play around with it, and I can provide a link to a tutorial on Studio's automation features and playlist features.
Yeah, the links that I've shared before with the cryptographics, they automatically update. So they receive periodically data from the crypto API and update graphics, and the data you see there are live data. What's your user's favorite function of Singular?
It varies.
Will you open or consider opening a Discord channel? Well, it's hard to tell what's the favorite function. It depends on the type of user and the type of use case. Definitely.
And the type of customer,
yeah.
like what they're looking for. If someone's looking for cloud-based graphics, you know, we have a great solution for that. If they're looking for affordability, again, I would say we're very affordable for you know, live graphics solution. Scalability, Thomas, you mentioned this before, or maybe Stephen, you mentioned this before. You can instance out multiple different control apps from one composition, one build. So you can, and this isn't something that maybe some of our competitors in the cloud space actually offer. So Thomas, you were going to elaborate, I think, on maybe some benefits that you've seen.
It's definitely the flexibility of Singular to fit into many workflows, or actually into any workflows, and adapt to any data flow and data source, which well, our customers like. Yeah, it's, let's say, it's the flexibility and adaptability of the Singular platform as it is, with all APIs and SDKs. So we have use cases that integrate Singular into native mobile iOS or Android apps, and you actually don't really see that. We have use cases where our integration partners created their own platform hosting or letting users select templates without that their users actually have to create a Singular account. So this is all managed through APIs and through SDKs. And well, users that have high volume of graphics generation and need a lot of automation, they really love and enjoy using Singular.
Looks like we got this is I guess a follow-up question. I'm sure there must be a playout component for Singular.
Oh, we
Is it a
already.
scheduling option? Did we cover that one?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we don't have a scheduling software. I guess that we don't have like a formal scheduling software where you're gonna have time-based events. But like Thomas touched on, a number of our customers send API commands REST to Singular to trigger graphics on a time base. We're more focused on the graphics platform, I'd call it, than the scheduling. Scheduling is not something we currently have.
Yeah. Also there on APIs and the SDK level, sometimes timing is critical when you're on the playout. Well, it's less critical when you just show a lower third. Then, well, if that's a second or half a second too early or too late, this usually doesn't matter. But especially when it gets into ad breaks, you want to be precise, and therefore our APIs provide the option to send explicitly timestamps to a command, and then it will be executed at exactly that time within the overlay. And users that have time-critical integrations and needs for playout graphics, they use that, and they reach a precision of 2-3 milliseconds executing that command or showing this graphics or hiding this particular graphics then on the output.
And we have some technology partners, right? Platforms that have worked with our API to do scheduled playout of our graphics.
Yeah, we have several ones. We have Frequency, we have Quest, we have Next Editions, Get Your Studio, and many other customers. I just want to jump back to
oh yeah, go ahead.
Another question, or to a previous question, asking for a Discord or any other open discussion channel. yes, we have a Slack channel, a support Slack channel for Singular customers, where you can send messages and you'll post questions, and those will be answered on short term. And of course, you can post tickets, and we'll answer them as fast as possible and as they get in.
I will say, Thomas, I don't know if you're aware of this, because this is a change that we somewhat recently made, but the Slack channel is only available to enterprise customers just because of, you know, traffic reasons and the size of our support team. But that being said, we're pretty quick with the general ticketing system, support.singular.live. So you know, please ask us questions there, and we'll get back to you quickly. So let's see what else. Do we have a newsroom component to be integrated with news management system?
Well, this
How
is
many
a
times
typical...
have we been asked that?
I know where this question comes from.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we haven't yet implemented a MOS interface for newsroom systems. We discussed it, and we know how to build it, but it's on our list, but it hasn't been done yet.
All right.
Yet.
Yet.
Excuse me.
Is it
How
possible
about-
to let, instead
Yeah,
of
go ahead.
typing at next live question and answers? I don't see why not. I mean, I guess we could.
We're limited with this Zoom software. I mean, we can look into other solutions, but I think there's a spotlight option where we can show your video and you can ask the question if that's something you might be interested in. So we'll look into it. We'll see if that's a possibility. Let's see. Here's another question. I'm not sure I understand David's previous question here. Do you guys understand?
Yeah, there's a question. How about use data to decide which function is user's favorite, like data-driven development? Not quite.
I think I can understand, actually. My dog will stop barking. I think, is the question, how do we decide what to develop next, depending on user demand? Is that the kind of question there, David?
I'm
not sure.
Not sure. Okay, so the answer is yes. Yes. Well, we adapt our development roadmap on customer requests. So the more customers request specific functions, features, then those topics increase in importance and in priority, and we'll take them first. And we either get this feedback on direct emails, or we get it on the support portal, or on any other channel, or on comments that we might find on the articles on the support portal, or on Google comments or YouTube comments, wherever. So the more requests we get for a specific topic, I think the more this topic will get raised in priority.
Absolutely. And I would say
to touch on David's comment here about we just have more users than traditional graphic software. If that could be measured, it would probably be because of accessibility. Anyone can sign up for free and learn the software, which is really great for people starting out in the broadcast industry. When I started out actually as an artist, you know, I had no knowledge of VizRT or any of these other traditional softwares simply because of the fact that it's just not easily accessible for people starting out, and you can't just hop online and start learning it. So I think that's primarily because of accessibility, and we're trying to give this sort of technology to a wider range of customers. because we think there's so much content out there that deserves quality graphics, and not just a select few with a budget and accessibility. So I'm sure, Stephen, you've got comments on that because of your long history in broadcast.
Oh yeah, we have a long list of traditional broadcast customers that we've serviced for many, many years, predating Singular. Thomas, myself have a long history in this business in general. And, in the advent of Singular, it's now very mature offering, very, very powerful. A number of our existing broadcast customers use us extensively, and then a whole host of new people that before the advent of Singular had absolutely no way to get their hands on such a powerful tool. So our types of projects that we encounter, whether we're actively involved in them or we're hands off, maybe doing some hand holding, so to speak, is huge. It is varied, it is wide, it is everything from the simple streams to super advanced projects, of which Suzanne, Thomas, and myself are involved in on and off, depending on our workload. So yeah, we have a huge net. It is massive and it's growing, and it's exciting for us. And I have a feeling we're going to do more of these Q&As because this is lots of good questions. I'm really enjoying this. Let's see here. I'm a broadcast technology working on VisRT for the last 20 years in the Middle East. Thomas and I have a long history with VisRT, and a great company. They have an amazing platform, and ours is a decidedly different direction in the sense that we're leaning on the browser. Everyone's got the browser they're carrying around with them in their back pockets with their phones and their tablets and everything else. So it's a different paradigm. So yeah, it allows us to do different things than you could do with a traditional graphics platform. So
more Q&As. Sweet. Let's do it. I like it. This was fun.
Crystal does some really I was helping Crystal with her channel, and she does a great job on her digital news desk. So a big shout out to you, Crystal. Thanks for using Singular at your station, and we look forward to doing more graphics for you guys. And let's see.
Should we wrap it up? We went a half hour over
wrap it up.
per usual, but that's okay.
We had a whole arsenal of things. I think we're going to do version 2.0 because I have a whole host of things I wanted to jump into, but I don't want this to be too long-winded. So like Catherine said, we'll kind of button this one up. And there's the partners program. Yes, we do.
I did send a link to that, but here I'll send it one more. That's our webpage about the partner program, as well as if you want to apply as a technology partner or service provider, or even a freelance service provider. We have a database on our website where customers can access your services and hire you. We rely on our service providers to do, amazing work and push our platform.
So we will do another one of this. Let's see. I'm just curious about how small.
One more to wrap it up. Okay.
Not from the beginning at the date I was talking about, or maybe they don't. Okay. That's more of a comment than a question, but I think that about does it. But we'll definitely be doing another one of these because we had a nice turnout, and
we probably should take the last questions that David's asked for small users. For small users that don't need their own design, we suggest reaching out to overlays.uno.
Yeah.
Overlays.uno is using the Singular platform as the backend engine. Small users that don't require their own design can create an account, select a theme, and produce their productions there for free. Just go there, sign up, look at the library, and let us know if you'll find that elements that you are looking for there. If not, we are more than happy to test and to create those.
Yeah, so overlays.uno is really just a template first experience. It's a bunch of customizable templates. There's no builder in there. That's really what Singular's for. As a full-fledged graphics platform, there's the builder and ways to integrate live data that we've talked about. So it's very much the professional sort of solution, but we did develop this kind of light, more streaming targeted solution called overlays.uno, which we're really proud of, and we publish new templates there frequently, so feel free to check that out.
Oh, the list is long for Uno. It's been incredibly a lot of fun doing it, and the feedback has been phenomenal. I was just chatting with R&D guys this morning, and the feedback's been phenomenal, extremely positive. And of course, we're not going to be able to hit every single request all the time, but certainly the Uno library will grow, the functionality will grow, and a whole host of new things which we don't have to dive into now. But yeah, there is a roadmap for Uno, there's a roadmap for Singular, and both are very ambitious, but the feedback from Uno, just to wrap it up, has been very, very good. I think that's it. It got quiet.
Good. Yeah, let's wrap it up.
So we're going to wrap it up because I think we did an hour, but we will do one of these again. So thank you everybody for joining us. It's been great, right?
Yep. Keep an eye out for, I don't know if you guys want to watch this recording in particular because we didn't dive into too much, but keep an eye out for an email that we will send with a link to the recording that we're going to post online. So with that, thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.